Try not to cough on you.
Good morning, everybody. It's almost the weekend. It's Friday. Chris is at a beach house, and we all wish we were there with him. But I have four of my very favorite Canvas people on the line today. Chris, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself? Everyone knows who you are, but let's do it anyways.
No, that is not true. Not everybody knows who I am, and that's okay. Hey, my name is Chris. I work to support a school district in Oregon of 42,000 students. We are one-to-one school district, and this year we're using Canvas 3 through 12. Anyways, been a long-time teacher and love my job.
Thanks, Chris. Let's go on to Kat. Kat, do a little intro.
Sure. So my name is Kat Flippen. That's the real name, and you can find me very easily on all forms of social media. The second page of my Google results, when you Google search me, it does actually show cats like actually flipping, so that's not me. And I currently coordinate. It's true. I currently coordinate all the instructional technology and some professional learning for Jackson County Schools, which is about an hour and a half northeast of Atlanta, Georgia. And I'm also the Canvas administrator, and we're having lots of fun right now.
Fun. I love it. Megan, you're up.
Hi, everyone. I'm Megan. I was a high school science teacher, technology integration coach, Canvas advocate, currently a professor in a school of education at a small private university in the Midwest.
Eddie, the Canvas caster, minus Marcus, who's online with us. Hey, Marcus.
Sorry, Marcus, no one invited you. Oh yeah, let's feel bad for Marcus. I'm Eddie Small. I just took a position with Canvas. I'm now a principal learning consultant with the company. So excited to be here. I was a CT innovation coach for a few years at a career and tech center here in Indiana. And these are all my friends that I've had on the podcast, except for Kat. It's time.
I'm ready.
It's time. Whenever you're ready, we're ready.
Sure.
Sounds like she needs an invite. Eddie is what it sounded like from there. Okay.
Wasn't ready till now. That's all.
Right.
Now she's ready. Okay, so this is what we're going to do today. These are we've got a special little group on Twitter. If you want to be part of it, send me a note. And it's a really long process of going through interviews and, all kinds of weird things like that. But you might be able to join us. We are talking with this group multiple times every day. It's almost a little bit crazy. And these are some of the people that I would consider the goats of Canvas. Not like goats like cats flipping, Cat, not that, like greatest of all time. That's what we're talking about. So today, we want you to ask any questions you may have. Marcus is eating barbecue and feeling neglected. We love you, Marcus. Don't feel neglected, but keep eating barbecue. So we've got a huge group, not surprising with these all-stars that we have on here. Any question that you have, chances are Kat, Chris, Megan, Eddie have already heard it, have already answered it, but we want to take them right here. So start dropping them in the comments. As you start dropping them in, I'm going to start with Chris. I'm going right over to Chris and saying, Chris, what is one of the biggest questions that you've been getting on Canvas recently, and what's the fix? What do people need to know?
I think that it's not necessarily a fix, but it's a suggestion or advice. I think one of the biggest questions that lots of people are asking on Canvas, the Facebook groups, you name it, is how do I cross-list my courses? And that really quickly my real quick answer for you all who are wondering about cross-listing is to make sure you speak with your Canvas administrator /IT, because they're the ones who are going to understand the process. At least I hope they do. However, at the same time, the reason why you may have to cross-list is because they didn't understand the process to begin with, which is they potentially gave you a Canvas course for every section you teach. So first rule of advice, always ask just to make sure, because you may have a gradebook that syncs back from Canvas and it might be set up intentionally. So I do not want to give you advice that breaks that. But I will say that the advantage of cross-listing is to take the courses that I teach that could potentially be scattered about and then combining them together. And that's a good thing. There's nothing wrong with that. So that's my advice. Always ask first. And if you need help, I always default to telling people to go to the guides, because that is the mother of all truth. So that's my big takeaway so far.
Love it. For someone who might be brand new and is like, what in the world is he talking about? What is cross listing? Who wants to give us the 30,000 foot view of what cross listing is?
Yeah, so I'll piggyback off of what Chris was talking about, because that is essentially what's happening a lot in the conversations that I'm having. And it may not necessarily be because an IT person just didn't understand the process to begin with, or teachers didn't understand. Sometimes it's just it's a nature of the SIS that you're using, right? Because you can't do it any other way than to create a course for your specific instance. So essentially cross-listing allows you, because as you have different sections in your grade book, and I didn't even know this was a thing because, again, high school teacher, not a lot of courses in my peer review when I was using Canvas. But my wife is like, yeah, in third grade, I have like a grade book for math, science, English, PE, art. Like I have a separate grade book. Well, what Canvas will end up doing, if it's set up in a specific instance, is that they give you a course card for each one of those guys. And it's hard when you have multiple sections, because some teachers are looking at those ones that teach multiple sections of things, maybe 15, 16, 25, 30 course cards, and it freaks them out. So cross-listing is just a process that we have that will allow you to maybe create a master course that you can filter those students in through. So you're not looking at all of those course cards and having to copy content over to each one, as well as like bringing them in sections, which is super complicated. But as Chris said, it's very important to talk to your IT department before you decide to do that. If you've already created content in those courses that are passing back and those types of things, then you can't, if you cross list, you're going to lose a lot of content. So just be very careful. But it's a definite integration that you want to think about and talk about with your IT department. And if you've already gotten started and you've already created content, you didn't do it that way, it's really hard to go back. So maybe save it for next year when it happens next year. But that's the easiest way I can explain it. I'm sure Megan and Kat are probably way more versed in this on the admin side than I am. But that's definitely something that I didn't even think of. When my third grade teaching wife comes home and she's like, well, yeah, Eddie, I have a grade book for all these different sections. I'm like, what is this world?
Not just for elementary, though, because I taught, one of my things I taught in my past life as a high school teacher was fine arts. And fine arts folks have a lot of sections, right?
Yeah.
High school folks, you got some sections there, but I'm also thinking of state funding. So like we use Infinite Campus, and all of our sections are derived from state funding codes. So like point 8 and point 9 are for resource group and special education. Point 2 is gifted. Point 1 is EIP. The fact that I know this is kind of sad, but you get the idea. So like if you teach elementary, or if you have a section even in middle school that's all broken up, you can put all those together. We call it smushing, by the way, which I understand that Jersey Shore people apparently means something else. But for us in our land, it doesn't. So we're going to smush the courses together, and that way, and you can assign all your stuff that way. So if you do have a assignment that you want to add 30 extra minutes to for your kids who are in your point 9 section, for in Georgia, that's special education, right? Super easy to do that because you can assign to your sections. When I was a high school teacher, I combine all my stuff. So I'd have all my Spanish 1s, all 4 periods of them, smushed together in one course. But then I could assign assignments just to those certain class periods, and the other kids would never know. They would not ever be the wiser. So that's another beautiful thing about cross-listing is even if you cross-list, you can still make it so only certain kids and only certain class periods can see certain stuff. And it doesn't matter for your grade book. If your grade book sync is turned on, guys, and you cross-list, that doesn't break it. What matters is behind the scenes, there's a magical thing called a SysID. And every student and every section has that, and you cannot delete it. Let me repeat that. You cannot delete it. You can't go wrong. So regardless of how you cross-list, the grade sync will still work.
So big thing to call out here on cross-listing. Cross-listing is one of the biggest things that we get calls about in support. Some of you may be seeing extra long wait times in support. Guess what? You are, and we're doing all we can, and it's crazy. But talk to your admin very first. Don't do it until you talk to them. Number 2, we just dropped a video in there. You'll see the link about cross-listing that'll help you answer a lot of those questions. Talk to your admin. Do it after they tell you you're good to do it, and you shouldn't have a whole lot of problems. Let's jump. Please, team, jump in and tell me whenever there's a good question you want to take here. I did want to jump in on Derek's comment here about special education resources. We are actually doing, Derek, a live stream on Monday morning with a group of special education teachers, 10:30 a.m. Mountain. So join us for that, and you can ask all the questions that you may have. Let's talk about integrations, LTI stuff. There's a question here from Jessica. Is there a way to complete remove the whiteboard and be in BUB? I minimize when I'm live, but watching the recording back, the majority of the screen is the whiteboard. Any of you guys had issues with any of that before?
I have to take myself out of this because we don't use the conferences. Some of our teachers do, but most of us, we usually use Google Meet. So I will pass that to it's all this way. My other three here.
I will say the same thing. We don't use conferences either for a couple of reasons, but so teachers might, but as a district, we don't necessarily push it out for everybody to use. So I apologize for not being able to answer that question. Darn it.
Right.
Eddie, Megan, anything from you?
I'm in the same boat.
The stump. This is when somebody tweeted the other day, and I knew this was going to happen. Mark will never have us back on. Somebody tweeted and said, try to stump these 4 rock stars, and like this happens, right? So I just don't think there's any way to do it. We used conferences a little bit when the pandemic kind of hit the first end of it, and using BBB was something that all of our teachers were doing. I don't think it's possible. I think once you're using the whiteboard or sharing the whiteboard and doing the recording, I think it's the main thing that people see.
Right.
So I don't know if there's a way to minimize it. There are obviously other tools that you can use. I know a lot of schools are using Zooms or Google Meets and then adding a whiteboard feature on top of that with other apps to accomplish kind of the same thing. But yeah, as far as I know, and just the limited usage that we used at C9, I just don't think it's possible to minimize that tool.
Yeah, I didn't think there was an easy way to switch between that and like a gallery view, like you could with Zoom.
Right.
Okay. Let's go back to cross-listing. Amelia here is saying, how do I find out if my course is crossed or not?
The best thing to do is go to your courses, click on the settings in the bottom left-hand corner, click on the sections in the top, and then you'll see your sections. Well, if you only have one section, then you don't have cross-listed. But then you could click into the section, and on the right-hand side, it'll say, decross list or recross list. If it says that, then the course has been basically cross-listed. So you would know if it's cross-listed because you would have done it yourself, but there is potential that your IT may have automated the process in the process of creating those courses. So,
okay,
Mark,
great comment here. Go ahead, Megan. Go ahead.
I was just going to say there's a question on rubrics I could take if you.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Who was it?
Christy Kittle at 12:35. It looks like she said, "We'd love to chat about rubrics. Wishes there was more flexibility." So Christy, I just wanted to make sure that you knew that you could do ranges of scores. So that's one of the options on a rubric. You can click I think it's a little guy on the bottom, like use ranges, and it'll give you a space to do a range. And then sharing to comments is this is a sneaky way, right? If you create an assignment and you just call it like 6 traits rubric, and the assignment is blank, and you attach the rubric and throw the rubric in comments, when someone pulls it in, the assignment in, the rubric will come with it. Or it doesn't even have to be an assignment at all. You could just be sharing the assignment with the rubric to go through. So anyone want to correct me on that? That's how I've always done it, is just creating an assignment and the rubric stays attached. So you can share them. It's just kind of a funky workaround.
I'm all about funky workarounds.
Sneaky. That's sneaky right there.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go. What else are you guys seeing in here? Do we have another one that's top of mind for any of you?
I might go back here and see what else is happening. All right, hey, I got one. Go to 12:39.
Okay.
Christy Martinez. Once giving feedback to an assignment, Google Cloud assignment or uploaded file, where do my students go to see that feedback? So we'll talk about, I want to call out the Google Assignments LTI because so many people are still using, and I think that this might be it, but it could also be the Docs Cloud assignment. So I'll leave that to one of our friends here. So we specifically focus in my district on the Google Assignments LTI. For them to see the feedback, that's within the Google Doc itself. So they can either, one of two places. One, they can find the document in the folder that's in your drive. Just like with Classroom, it saves a folder in your drive called Assignments. And within there, you'll find your class folder. And within there, you'll find your assignment folder. And within there, you're going to find the students' documents. They can't see each other's, just their own, and you can see them all. But they can go there to see it. Or they can go the easy way and just go to the actual assignment in Canvas, and it'll open up that interface, the LTI interface. and they can see the comments right there too. And more than likely, they'll get an email too. You know how Classroom used to blow up emails with all the, hey, so-and-so commented, so-and-so commented, they're going to get those in their email too. But that's from the Google Assignments LTI. When it comes to Docs Cloud, do one of y'all three have more experience with so talk about that one.
That's what I use. I intentionally have left on and will leave on until it dies, Google Cloud Assignment, because I'm a big fan of that one instead. And the reason why is because when you do a Google Cloud assignment, it again makes a copy for the students, and you can also go ahead and respond to students, but the feedback and the assessment and the score lives in SpeedGrader, which then automatically is fed through to the gradebook. Parents and students can quickly locate it within a matter of one click. So that's the reason why I'm leaving it on, because I'm still a big fan of that true integration.
Yeah, and Chris, that's interesting that you bring that up, because that's a conversation we're having now. You know, in September of next year, that's going to go away. So do we onboard people that are brand new to the new system, right? But those of you that may have used it a little bit, get the old system that worked really, really well, and the piece that worked really, really well is the piece that is missing in the new part, right? So I don't know how many times I get questions about what's going on with the SpeedGrader and the new Google Assignments LTI. Why doesn't it look the same? It works for some people, but it doesn't work for others, because you're either on the old system or on the new one. And I think that has been, Kat did a great session. Let's call that out. She did a great session with Brian from Google that was all about the Google Assignments LTI. It's fresh. But what you definitely also need to understand is it doesn't work exactly like the old one does in SpeedGrader. And Chris brought up a great point that here's a situation of a district that said, well, it works really well in SpeedGrader, we're going to leave it on and not worry so much about the Google Assignments LTI yet. But Chris, what are you going to do in a year? You're just going to
in a year I'm going to assume that Google's going to realize we should probably adjust, fix, and modify that, and it'll be already cleaned up.
Right, for sure.
All right, if you use the Google, and I'll say this as somebody who's a big fan of Google too, I've witnessed this. They take feedback on their products like this. So when you're in the LTI 1.3, bottom left of your screen, there's a little question mark and a circle. That's where they want your feedback. And I vouch for them because I saw it happen with Classroom. Submit your feedback on this, right? So like another big beef right now with assignments is you can't initially see the thing until they submit it. You can't see the list of assignments. Okay, that will probably be fixed. Like they're releasing something when it's in quasi, like they don't want to wait until it's absolutely perfect because we need it now.
Right.
So the SpeedGrader piece will come, and I do want to say it does do the grade passback. So at least the grade is in the grade book. And by the way, you can go into that grade and do comments. The parents will see that too. So just saying.
Yeah, Google pays attention to feedback. So everybody that we have on the session today, if you aren't just banging that feedback button every time you want it to do something that you don't want it to do. I went to the Google Innovator Academy, and that was something they talked a lot about. Like, people have to do that. Google has like a running list, and depending on how many feedbacks they get on a specific thing, it moves it to the top of the list.
Yeah.
So if you want SpeedGrader integration in Google Assignments LTI, feedback, and it'll move to the top of the list. So for sure, make that happen.
Okay, this is what I'm going to do, friends. We're going to keep moving here. Yeah. You guys are too fun. We're taking a question here from Karen that came in. Is there a way to unpublish a quiz that you have as a teacher, have answered as a test student, and need to correct answers? It won't let you unpublish a quiz once there is a student response.
There's a way to remove all your responses. I just saw this the other day. There's a way to clear all your responses as a test student.
So when the screen is, when you're in student view, right? And then there says leave student view. And then there's a button that says reset test student. You reset that, it should clear it all out, and then you should be good to go.
Boom. Karen, you're welcome. On to Mark. What a fantastic name. Is there a quicker way to create a quiz? Import it from a doc, from a Google form?
Google, all right, so we just talked about how great Google was. Now we're going to tell you about how they're not so good. Google Forms are not your friends. I never used one as an educator. It was a nightmare for me. Even like in the worst of scenarios, you cannot take stuff from a Google form and import it into a Canvas quiz. If you're using almost any other program, you could. That's the irony of the whole thing. So if you're trying to like do a bunch of items, if you had Exam View, that would be a great thing to do. Or if you're coming from some other LMS, super easy to do that too. And even with a Google Doc, there's a way to finagle that to get that working in some funky way. It's in the Canvas community. You should go look it up. But when it comes to forms, I'm so sorry.
Copy and paste, copy and paste,
Yep.
copy and paste. Sorry.
Yeah,
I
or
like it.
copy and paste and create question banks so that forever and ever you could go ahead and
Yeah.
actually truly have the power of quizzes.
I love question banks so much. So much.
Look at these four just geeking out. We're geeking out over here, friends. Okay.
We're together.
We don't get to see each other's faces enough.
We don't.
You guys should tune into the live stream. You'd see this mug every morning. It's really fun. Okay, let's talk about LTI integrations, because there was a question earlier about integrations. This one's specific to Flipgrid, but I want to go deeper than just that. Somebody give us, say you're brand new to Canvas, you haven't ever integrated anything. Where does someone start with any kind of LTI integration?
That depends on, is it a pay for integration? Does it have to be set up at the root level? Can it be done in the course level? So for example, Flipgrid is a integration that can be set up by a teacher at the course level. Google integration is set up at the root level, like your admin has to do that. So Flipgrid is a good example of something that a teacher could go ahead and embrace. And I'll find the PDF form right now in a second. What I love about Flipgrid is I could create a Flipgrid, make it an assignment in Canvas, and the task is the Flipgrid. And then when students do that task, then I can go ahead and give it a score if I want to, or feedback in SpeedGrader, just like that.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Facebook user, I don't know your name. I'm going to give you a website to go to, eduappcenter.com. That's probably a great place to start, because it explains a lot of what it is. But like, you know how we're talking about all the settings and all the things how to set things up. More often than not, they'll also have all the links there. I don't know if Flipgrid has all the links there for how to set things up, but like a lot of the very popular ones that people like Edpuzzle has all their stuff that's set up there too. So you can have the instructions there and tells you what to do. So Edu App Center is my favorite site to go through, but I love the fact that you're pointing out that there's different types. Because I think it's actually one of my biggest struggles right now is I get people who are like, I want to do Edpuzzle. I'm like, I pushed it out to you already. It's there. You don't need to do it twice. It's there. Just trust me.
Yeah, and I just put in the YouTube chat, and I can put it in here too, the actual Flipgrid integration and how you do it.
Just put it there in our private chat, Chris, and then I can share it to everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, and that is, I agree with Kat. The big thing is the challenge that a teacher may not understand is it free? Do I have to pay for it? Can I set it up myself? Does my district have to set it up? So I default to the same rule for cross-listing. Contact your Canvas admin and your IT and say, hey, I have this thing. Can I install it? They'll tell you, we've already done it. You can't do it, or it costs money. And if you're in Oregon, the challenge is unless a company has signed the data privacy agreement, technically nobody in the entire state can use it. And it makes me sad because they refuse to sign it.
Ouch.
I'm just calling you out, Flipgrid. Be a lover, Flipgrid.
Oh, Chris, he's unlocking stuff. Okay, let's go over here to the Canvas plus Bitmoji madness equals happiness Facebook page. We got a question here from Tracy Moyes, who says, is there a way to link files from one Canvas course to another? It's taking forever to download the same file MP4 to all of my active courses. Who's taking this one?
I'm just gonna say 100% yes, you can.
You gonna describe it to us?
Well, okay. I mean, okay, apologize. If we're talking about files that are in the course, I apologize. You have to actually have the files in each course. That is correct. Links to each course can be done easily. Like if I have an assessment in one course that I want my students to take, I can easily link it. I apologize, I misspoke. So files do have to be linked and uploaded to each course in order for your students to access those, because they're file course specific.
Right. So theoretically speaking, if you made a course that was accessible to the institution or to the public, you could probably link to those files, but most people don't do that.
Okay, we'll take that. We'll take that answer. Let's see. Oh, Valerie here.
I think it depends on your workflow, your ultimate workflow too. Apologize, but that's really the goal. What is your workflow as a teacher?
Oh, yeah.
Valerie in our secondary educators group on Facebook is saying, could a timer be added when a student saves a media file and isn't sure how long it will take to load? Interesting idea. What I would recommend there, Valerie, is that you go into the community, that you put that up as a request, and we see how many other teachers and educators really want that feature. Let's do it.
You know, that's a great point. I don't think people realize that you can do feature requests with Canvas in the community.
You're right.
And then you go ask your friends to like them up.
Exactly.
It's all just a popularity contest, guys. This is like high school student body president again.
It absolutely is.
Okay, let's go to Kat. Kat, another big question that you're getting on a regular basis.
Okay.
What would it be?
Actually, I pulled up an email from one. I want to shout out to one of my middle school teachers. Her name is Brittany Bennett. And she asked the other day that one of her concerns are, because we auto-roster all of our classes, right, from our student information system. When a kid gets rescheduled and leaves a Canvas course and has content there, and then goes to another course, it looks like all the content's gone. It's actually not. Like, it's just hidden, especially in the gradebook. You actually have a toggle in your gradebook between your active students and your inactive students. I can't visually remember where it is, but it's there. So you can actually bring up your kids who have left, and you still have a historical record of their grades. So just like what I used to do back in the day, where I couldn't necessarily push the content off, but I could just take those scores and move the scores over to the other classes that the kid moved to. Same thing here you can do. But those grades don't go away.
So you could go to where it's, if you look at your entire long student list of names in your course, if you hover over the names, the little jelly beans will pop up. You click on the little jelly beans, and then down below it'll say show concluded students.
Yeah.
And that's where you could go ahead and show those students have concluded.
Look at this group. Look at this group over here. Okay, Facebook user. We would like your name. Our building just started Canvas for fully distance learning. We haven't found a solution to student teachers and student observers from education programs. Our district does not give them district credentials. How do other schools let student teachers run the class for a period of time using Canvas?
I'll take that one as the higher ed school of ed person. We've worked really, really hard, at least for student teaching, to partner with our districts so that they do give our student teachers credentials, especially in a time like this. Because of data privacy and security, it's not fair to ask them to use any personal account, nor should you want them to use a personal account. So giving them credentials, at least for student teaching. I mean, our students are in for 16 weeks, and I do not want them to act as the teacher. Like, as a teacher, I don't want to give them my password to get into the account or anything. I want them to have their own. So I would just continue to develop relationships with your partner schools. And I know that's really, really hard, but there's not an easy way, at least that I know of, and that's secure and good for the students, the district, and our your student teachers. So I don't have a great answer, but maybe just really push the data security and privacy issue with their school district IT team and say, especially for the student teachers who are there for an extended period of time, to get them some district credentials.
And Canvas at the admin level gives you some really good tools. And Chris, probably an admin of that size, probably knows a lot about just setting specific roles. So you can give them credentials and then just really pare down what they can see and access, which has been great in any admin integration side that I've ever been working with, because it does give you like really specific either account level roles or course level roles, so that those kids can only view certain things, can edit or change certain things. So yeah, working with your tech people and the people that are Canvas admins at your specific district, building that relationship and saying this is why it's important, and then trying to give them other solutions, which is we can set what they can see, what they can't see, how they can see it and manipulate in a course, which is super valuable and easy to find there in those course roles.
I will definitely say we default to go to your admin and your IT to talk about how you get those people into your, because we don't allow anybody in to see students unless they've gone through the process. So, and then like Eddie said, we can go ahead and set roles. Unfortunately, those roles can't be dialed down to what exactly I want, but we choose decent roles for them.
You're a special case though, Chris.
Chris, you are a special case. This is an important, this question is not what's being asked by our dear friend over in England. The 3 dots next to the name in Canvas, what is that actually called?
Hot dog.
I've heard the hot dog, I've heard the snowman,
jelly beans,
I've heard the jelly
pickle
bean,
stack.
Pickle
Jelly
stack. What's the answer?
It's gotta be regional then, right? All right, so like,
Sunday.
I heard hot dog from the Google people. Did you not? Like they called it hot dog back in 2013. They changed the system, but we say hot dog in Georgia.
I have people call it snowman because of the 3 dots and the snowman's like.
I've heard skinny snowman. That's been said
yeah.
in this region. Skinny snowman.
If I'm hungry, it's jelly beans.
I've heard hot dog. I'm with Pat. Team hot dog, and then
Team hot dog. Let's go with Kent's comment here about SpeedGrader as a blessing. Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Live, Kent.
All right, no, I don't think teachers are using the teacher app enough. Back when it was not illegal in Georgia to be on your phone when you were driving, or when I stopped the car, okay, y'all, at the stoplights, okay, it's so easy to use the SpeedGrader app on the phone. I'm not like, you just fly through it on my little tiny phone. I have tiny hands, so I have a tiny phone. Like, it was so easy to use, and then it became illegal, and I got really sad. But you could grade super easy on your iPhone. Anywhere, and it looks just the same. That includes voice comments or video comments. You can do that from your phone too in SpeedGrader on the teacher app. Love it.
Let's be very clear. The teacher app is incredible. We do not recommend grading using the teacher app while driving your car.
But you can do it literally anywhere.
Love it. Love it. Let's see here. We had another question back here about one of our favorite topics right now, that is Google Assignments LTI. Cynthia, is the new Google Assignments LTI feature working with blueprints? Quizzes Next is not working with blueprints. Any news on this being fixed? Have you guys heard about this?
Yes. I feel like this is always like not a burden, but it's a fun thing. Like I love that Google's innovating and working with Canvas to make all this wonderful stuff happen. So I will take it. Just like with things that any LTI, because technically Quizzes Next is actually an LTI connection, right? Same thing with them. When you move an assignment or a Google assignment, LTI 1.3, to one course to another, you have to still reconnect it, and then you have to still go upload that document into that assignment. It'll still have your descriptions, your points, all that stuff, but you have to kind of just reconnect those pieces. It doesn't do a hard share. Now, and think about it this way, though. They're going to find a way around it eventually. But let's say that you put something in the comments, or if you're trying to share something to somebody who doesn't have rights to that document anyway, like how are they going to get the document, the template document anyway? It won't force that copy, which would be a mess as it is. So right now, no. But our workaround in my district is if you share it with somebody else, you just have to remember to go back in and just re-enable it and put that template back into it.
Love it. Any other comments?
I'm just going to say that typically LTIs are challenging with blueprints. I don't typically do any LTIs when I push up blueprints because there's more problems than not. So.
No, you're right. You're right. Although, wait, I will say this. So we just had to push out like a cell curriculum, and we did a blueprint, and the LTI did follow. Now, but granted, the LTI rights, when you set up some LTIs, you have a anonymous, name, email, and public. All those LTIs are public, and it worked via blueprint. But like the Google Assignments LTI 1.3 is not public. They have to have something to kind of associate. That's your email. So I have a theory that things that are the public LTI settings, if anybody's geeking out with me on this, you understand what I'm talking about, those will transfer with blueprints.
Love it. We do have some other comments here about what they call the 3 dots.
The Timbits. Have you ever heard the Timbits one from Shucks and GIF? They've got a podcast and they call them the Timbits. It's a Canadian thing, I guess.
Which, as a Canadian who loves Timbits,
tell us all about it, Kurt.
Right? So
he's Team Timbits.
He's Team Timbits.
Okay.
I see, Mark. I got one here. It says, "How can I effectively track attendance in Canvas? Install an app." This might be a good one to discuss with the group.
This is a very dangerous one.
It's dangerous.
It is fun to me.
Living on the edge.
I think it's dangerous because a school district, in my opinion, should make the choice on how teachers across the district are creating and collecting attendance. I'm not a big fan of why is it up to the teachers to track an email, a phone call, an assignment, blah, 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 whatever. Just create one. And in my opinion, just create a quiz. Just create a Canvas quiz that says, how are you today? Hit the button each day. That's just my 2 cents.
We had teachers, especially in the virtual environment, do attendance like in like an announcement. Like that's how they were kind of tracking attendance, that they would ask them a few questions. They would go in and write answers. That was very early in the pandemic when no one knew that we were going to be shut down for a week. There are better ways to do that. And I know Megan and Kat probably have some ideas. But until Canvas like officially becomes an SIS and not an LMS, you can't, because I know what the questions I get. Well, do I do attendance in this as well? Can I just forget about Infinite Campus? Can I forget about Skyward? Can I forget? We would love that. but unfortunately, you still need that other piece. So
Yeah.
Right.
I just suggest you just narrow down the tools you're using to track. So in my opinion, choose one or something, right?
Well, along those lines, the new analytics is really phenomenal. You can drill down to the student and see how the last time they logged in, how long they were logged in for. I had a teacher who actually figured out how to see that the student logged into Canvas, but has never actually visited his class. So he can see that the kid's logged in, but never has come to his class. So that's huge. So Canvas, the new analytics is a wonderful thing too that you could use. Yeah,
Any other comments on attendance?
I'd say check with your school district's admin and IT and ask them what they think they should do.
Sounds like that might be coming from a Canvas admin who wishes that his own district was always going through the Canvas admin.
Chris
Seems strange.
He's passing the buck.
Okay. Let's talk about Christy's question here. Does anyone use blueprints for templates for online learning to help enforce certain structure?
Yeah. Amen. Right. I like that. We got a team. I'm going to high five you this way. There. Okay. So yes. Yeah.
That was so rookie. Look at Megan losing it up there.
That didn't work. Just
I love the little. I have a thing.
Megan, you ready?
You gotta have
Ready?
moves. Wait.
No, that was worse. Come on, Kat, you and I kicked it. We totally killed it on that one. Sorry.
So
Yes.
I did this literally 4 days ago. 4 days. So we've never been a district of mandates, but we're having to a point where everybody just needs to use Canvas. So we've mandated it now. We just had big training, and people who still needed some help, I made a startup blueprint template. And people who opted into it, I attached them to it. So you can deattach it later, right? So yes, it is phenomenal, because when parents log in now, they'll see something similar. We're never going to actually be the type of district that says you have to have it this way. You have to look this way. That's not our style. It really shouldn't be anybody's style. But you should have some sort of, have a button to this or have a schedule on your page. So we provided those structures via blueprint. And now I'm going to spend the next 2 weeks shooting stuff out to them to help them kind of structureize stuff. And then I can detach them from the blueprint later.
Mm-hmm. Provide consistency for students, parents, whoever, but also still allow for teacher autonomy. That's my big thing, right? So just like we want you to realize that by using a blueprint, we can push the structure out. I've seen districts even just use blueprint at the beginning of every year, and it's just setting a page as the home page, cleaning up the nav, and it's very simple, very little structure. But
the point about the navigation, helping teachers clean that up, is huge.
So
That's
just
simple. Exactly what you said. Simple homepage. Reduce all the navigation on the left. A button here, a button there. You can still personalize it and humanize it, but try to keep it so that parents and students aren't guessing, what am I looking at?
Love it. Okay, we had a little bit of conversation about analytics, and Chris we dropped a great resource there in the community. Let's take this question from Christy on LinkedIn. What analytics would you use to help identify students who might be at risk?
The fact that they checked your Canvas course at all would be a good analytic.
That's actually legit, figuring out, because you can download analytics too. So when you download them, you'll get more of a historical report. And that way you can see if a kid has been pretty regular and then suddenly kind of drops off and then kind of disappears, that's pretty remarkable for at risk. And then if you do have standards leaked in and you are using the Mastery Gradebook, which my system is not yet, we're not there yet, it's easy to kind of identify if a kid is dropping off in a certain standard as well.
Awesome. Any other comments on analytics anybody wants to take?
And I think that the link that we put in has some really good information down below about how to use it and how to go ahead, like Kat said, and get that table and how to even print. The fact that it exists is, to me, a really great thing. But to me, are you hanging out in the classroom? Have you showed up? When's the last time you've actually been there? And then just look at your gradebook. If you have something that you want your students to submit regularly, that'd be the fastest thing I'd go see. Did you submit something, or are you late or something like that? That would be a good indicator to me.
Yeah, and then in the gradebook, and you click on the student name, you get those course cards that I don't know if it's called a course card.
No, it is. I think it's course card, right?
Okay, yeah, I think it's called. I don't know. But the course card is going to have the student's name. It's going to have a 3-star. I think it's 3 stars. Are they participating a high amount in the course compared to their peers, a medium amount, or a low amount compared to their peers? How's their grade compared to their peers in the course? Then it's on the 3-star rating. It'll tell you the last time they submitted their late work. So it kind of gives you this bigger picture overview, and you can just click on their name and it just automatically pops up on the right side of your screen. I think that's helpful because it also puts it into perspective on other students in the same class.
Yeah.
Because just because they love to spend time doesn't mean they're doing anything meaningful.
It's true.
They're probably reading it really closely, taking just very
notes.
Mm-hmm.
I love Chris's idea about a weekly thing. I think discussion boards can be leveraged here. And I would love to put the onus on the kids and have them do, what did you do for the last week? Tell me what you did for the last week in a discussion board.
Yeah, I don't think we talk about discussions enough. I think Canvas discussions is the second most powerful tool in Canvas, but yet the most underutilized tool that you could engage students, check in with students, respond to students, reflect with students. I mean, it is an incredible tool. It is the least amount of energy for the most bang for your buck.
Yep.
What's number one, Chris?
Obviously the calendar.
Which is also still underutilized, heavily underutilized.
What's due, when is it due, and how do I find it in literally one space?
Hey, all I know is we could have a whole session because you should have seen Megan's face when you were like, calendar number one. I think Megan's like, not number one, Chris.
As a parent of multiple students, I'm not clicking to every one of your courses to find out what's going on. I'm going to go to the calendar and I'll know exactly what's going on.
It's important. I just don't know if I put it as number one.
Oh, I do, but that's just me.
Fair. We can agree to disagree.
We can agree to disagree here.
Question that I don't know if I have a great answer for. So let's see. Easiest way to set up graded discussions where only one section can see the responses.
Yes.
If it's a cross-listed course, I have a love-hate relationship with this, right? So if it's a cross-listed course, students can have conversations outside of the same period, which is awesome because when can we do that if they're only in my period? But then if you don't put them into groups, when you create one discussion, it's all that big. I mean, 100, no one's reading that, right? And so how do you guys do it? I'm taking over Mark's job. Excuse me.
No, you should. We know it's not hard to take over my job.
When you create your discussion,
I realized I just did that.
it actually says section. Like you can interact, like you can actually choose the section. So you create one assignment, one discussion, choose the section, hit save, create another discussion, choose another section, hit save. And now those sections shouldn't be interacting with one another.
Right. So you have to create multiple discussions.
Multiple discussions. Yeah, because it would be kind of like I'm assigning this assignment to this group and it's on a certain day only, right? Like to this class period. This class gets a different assignment, different day. They don't know each other's assignments, right?
Right.
The same kind of thing.
Perfect. There's your answer.
Use those discussions. I'm going to tell you, you're going to kill it. It's just going to be amazing with discussions.
Mm-hmm.
I'm team using the media recorder in the discussions.
Yes, that's my first thing I ever pushed out ever. Love you. I love you.
Keeping your people down. If we talk about like best practices on discussions, I could go down a whole rabbit hole here. 5 to 7 students, no more. Definitely no more than 7. Probably low on the lower end. Someone agrees with me, so that's awesome. I agree with Megan. That flew by.
It's there.
Team Hot Dog. Team Hot Dog lives.
Team Hot Dog.
Team Hot Dog.
Hey, I also think we ought to call out this guy real quick, Marcus, because he kind of gave us a hard time earlier about feeling like I wasn't invited. It was put in the chat with everyone else, Marcus.
Boo, he's a bum. Get him off the screen.
You have to say, you have to join us. Okay, let's look here. Oh, Fatima is saying we did 2 truths, 1 lie in discussion board. My students loved it.
That's awesome.
Fantastic idea. Fantastic idea. Any other?
I want to drop one wisdom ball if I can.
Let's see it.
So if I was a classroom teacher and I want to narrow down how many times my students are emailing me. So this is going to save your email brain. If I was a classroom teacher, I would make a discussion called class wisdom wall or class parking lot. And the goal is I want to teach my students to say, instead of emailing me a question about the homework or the assignment, please post your question in the class discussion wall or the class parking lot. And the goal is they'll eventually stop emailing you, post the question in this class wisdom wall or the discussion. And now you could still respond, but now everybody benefits from your response, or even better, the classmates start to respond to each other. And so then it helps alleviate your emails, private emails, personal emails, emergencies, great. That's what emails are for. But everything that relates to school and to the learning of the class, in my opinion, if you don't want to email them, put it in that wisdom wall or that class parking lot. It's going to save your bacon.
Chris is dropping wisdom bombs over here is what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
What else? What other questions do we have? Big blue button. I know there's definitely questions about that. A lot of that depends on which version you're on. Are you on the premium version? are you on the free version? So definitely something, whoever you are, Canvas user, I would reach out to your Canvas admin. Look at me taking all this guidance from Chris to see what you're on. Kat, go ahead.
All right, I have one. I get this a lot from my elementary friends. I love y'all. From a secondary teacher. I don't understand necessarily, but I love you. This is why, because it's just a bulletin board thing. They like to have everything pretty and they like to have certain fonts. And did you know that you could change your font really easily? If you have the new rich content, yes, that editor. If you have the RCE turned on, then you actually have a menu. There's a couple of menu functions at the top, and one of those, they believe, is format. There's a font drop down, and now you have things like Comic Sans, much to my horror, and then Architect's Daughter, Latte, which I love a lot, and Wingdings. Why Wingdings? I don't know, but they're there. But you have like 15 new fonts that you could pick from. I have to call.
No Papyrus.
No Papyrus. That was my number 2. Don't dare. Comic Papyrus. But like Roboto, I need Roboto. Like put Roboto in.
Or at least Comic Sans. Really?
I mean, for heaven's sakes, Wingdings, come on.
Yeah, but they like Comic Sans, and I get it from a dyslexia. Like Comic Sans is actually very friendly for dyslexia readers, right? And an Architect's Daughter looks very pretty. I will say one thing for geeky people: it won't work in a heading tag. So anything that you tag as H2 or H3 or put as heading, those won't work. But every other thing that you do, go right ahead and have some fun with some fonts.
Kat, there was a question here. I'm going to 2 things. Someone commented on the Message Students Who feature in the gradebook.
Yeah.
Seriously, the best. If you haven't found it, you hit the little, I feel you, Message Students Who. And
that's my number 1, Chris.
That is one of my that's my task. And I love it because, yes, I can send students messages because you haven't turned this in, I harp on them. But I try to be really deliberate about telling my students when they do a good job. And so Message Students Who, anyone who scored over on whatever grade I want to say, and then like, hey, I'm really proud of you. You worked really hard. Thanks for putting in the extra effort. And so taking the time to quickly send a message to those students through that feature is also really beneficial because it lets them know that we see them when sometimes they get lost because they're doing the good work all the time. But then, Kat, there was a question on using Turnitin with Google LTI Cloud Assignment. Can you do that? I don't know the answer.
No, because LTI, exactly. Chris doing no. LTI things won't speak to each other necessarily. Now, if you have the G Suite Enterprise purchased, you have that built-in plagiarism checker. You only have 3 of that per semester. Otherwise, if you don't have it purchased, but you don't have to purchase it, y'all. We're not purchasing it, but if your district can afford it, it's worth it for the breakout rooms in Google Meet and for the built-in originality checker.
If it were me, I think my thought process would be first drafts would be the Google Docs as a student to a teacher, and then your final would be just submitting your Google Doc, not using the LTI, and then that will go through the plagiarism checker for Turnitin.
That's a great workflow.
Process.
Yeah,
it's a great workflow.
We need a webinar all about workflows, Mark.
We do need one. You're right. Hey, I want to know real quick as we wrap things up. Fatima just told us that her number 1 is Mastery Paths in Canvas. Everybody else watching, we've got a huge group. So I want to know what's your number 1. We want to know if you're on Team Chris, if you're on Team Megan, if you're on Team Fatima, if you're on your own team. Drop it in the comments. Let us know who you are. Here's a great question about quizzes and question banks. Favorite question types. We just got access. Miss Jackson, let's hear it. What's your favorite kind?
I'm kind of torn. I love Hotspot because, oh my God, images and like being able to do the polygon. Granted, I wish I could do multiple, but I'm sure that'll happen eventually. But I just love that I can put an image up there and have them identified. That could just be the Spanish teacher in me, though. But if I had something else, I mean, frankly, it's not really a question type. But now that we have the ability to do like points by answer, so like if someone gets it half right, I can give 0.5. That's awesome. So, yeah.
Yeah, hotspots, Kat's on the money. The hotspot feature, especially, I'm not sure what you teach, Miss Jackson. Sorry, Miss Jackson.
I am sorry.
Let's do it. This is what you get, Mark, when you put us on the podcast. Or whatever this is. This is video. This is different for me. There's a camera.
Yeah, they can see you and hear you.
Oh, this is why this is a problem. But yeah, the hotspot feature, especially, CTE teachers go crazy for it because it's a little remedial for them. If they use specific tools, they can take pictures of these tools on a table. I did this great Canvas story for Mark earlier in the year because he just throws things at me and I do them. I don't know why. But it's a great story about how he had all these tools laid out on a table, took a picture, and then used that polygon tool to outline all of them and just do a quick remedial quiz on, what tool is what, right? And the kids loved it. Super cool bell ringer. So depending on what grade you teach or what specific subjects you teach, can be very valuable. So hotspots, for me, it's hotspots. That's my favorite type of question.
I like that.
I like it.
To be different.
Oh,
You love the hotspot. The someone help me out. The side by side, the stimulus.
Oh, the stimulus thing. Yes.
I do love being able to like put some media or something in the stimulus. It doesn't have to just be reading prompt. Like I can put, as a science teacher, a quick little clip of a lab and then cut it off and say, okay, like what was this? What was this? What do you think is going to happen next? Like, what's your hypothesis? So I can use some like higher level questioning and attach multiple questions to the one thing. And I like that.
I'm just waiting for Canvas to initiate the best feature of all beyond the calendar and the message students too. And that is simply a whiteboard that allows me to just write down my thoughts as a student, submit, and then that's the way it comes to me as a teacher. And so I think of like Seesaw plus write, annotate, draw in a heartbeat and submit. So I'm just waiting for Canvas to either purchase something that does that or integrate it. But that to me, if I'm not a math teacher, but if I was a math teacher or a science teacher with chemistry or chemical equations and all that, I need that.
All right. So
Okay.
wait,
Mitch Benson.
The Google
We got to call these people out.
LTI 1.3 Jamboard. You can submit Jamboards through there, and you can also template Jamboards out. So that will.
Yeah, I love it. Okay.
Someone asked, what is a hotspot? So I do want to respond to that really quick. In the new quizzes, whatever name it has now, I can't keep up. There's
new quizzes.
New quizzes. Okay. There's
New quizzes.
so you can upload a picture. And so like my demo is always a picture of a dog, and then I circle the dog's nose, and then I ask the question, like, where's the dog's nose? And then they can click on it. So you upload an image of some sort, and then you as a teacher set what is the correct answer, and students are prompted to click on the piece of the image that's the right thing. So you could do maps, you could do like cell parts. Kat was saying, Spanish verbs. You could do short A sound, long A sound. I mean, we can talk forever, but that's what my question is.
Elementary teacher's friend right there.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, last question. We're coming back to Kat's favorite. It's the Google LTI.
Oh.
Kat, do you want to start on this one? Because you've kind of become our resident Google expert.
Oh, okay. Well, this might be me and Chris. This is LTI versus Cloud. My Google Cloud assignment worked earlier this week, and some students turned in their work starting yesterday. That assignment no longer allowed entrance. Can I change the extension tool from Cloud? No, you cannot change. So, I mean, technically you could, but it would just be a different assignment.
Assignment. Mm-hmm.
But it would create a different template document. So if you're shooting out templates and you use one tool, they won't be able to actually take it back. Yes, they could. If you start with Google, the Cloud Doc assignment, right? The old one that will be going away September, Chris. If you start with that document still lives somewhere in that kid's drive. They can technically go turn that in to a Google Assignments LTI 1.3 because you don't have to do a template document. You can just create the assignment and they can upload that. And so you can still grade it in that interface. So there's a way, not the other way though.
And just to clarify, we're talking 2021, not 2020 September.
Correct.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah, I had to clarify that.
Panicked people like a couple weeks ago when Brian was sharing that. I think people were like falling on the floor because they literally thought it was this September.
Oh, yeah.
And Brian's a cool dude. I met him twice at Instructure a couple times. So he's a cool dude.
Right.
He's a real cool dude.
People who are worried about Cloud assignment, like the Cloud Docs assignment going away, I mean, I would not, Canvas is not exactly the organization that would take something away without being sure that the other thing was replacing the same thing. So if SpeedGrader is your thing, more than likely by then, SpeedGrader will exist with the Google assignment LTI.
Hence why we have two quizzes, right? We didn't take one away and replace it. We have both.
That's a great question that just came up as well. How do you know if you have new versus classic quizzes?
The rocket. The little rocket color will tell you, and how it's the outline rocket. If you look next to a quiz and you see the rocket, right? If it's outlined, not colored in, it's old quizzes. If it's colored in, it's new quizzes. Imagery.
Get a load of that. Okay, everyone, this has been fun. We have a lot of you still hanging out with us. At what point will new quizzes be available for proctoring? Great question. I don't know the answer to that. Math expressions into new quizzes. Okay, everyone, we've taken a lot. I'm going to have to get these fine friends on a regular because it's just too fun to bicker back and forth. Thanks again to Chris, Kat, Eddie, and Megan, who are some of the Canvas goats. That's greatest of all times, not animals, if you're wondering. We'll see you on Monday morning, 10:30 a.m. Mountain. We're talking with some special education teachers who are going to do a great job. With that, thanks, Megan. Thanks, Eddie. Thanks,
I'll answer them on Twitter. People want to reach out on Twitter.
Yep, for sure. Yeah, we all have our Twitter handles here. We're all pretty open, so for sure, send us your questions. We'll try to get them answered, or try to find people in our communities that will answer them for you.
Definitely.
Actually, let's make that really clear.
If you're from Canada, send me some tidbits.
Anyone who could go ahead and send all of their questions to Eddie, Megan, Chris, and Kat rather than support right now would be really helpful. So
that's not what we said.
That's not how that works.
Not DM. If you don't do DM and you just do like a regular reply to Twitter, then many people can reply. But if you DM, we might miss it.
I'll probably put you in line behind the emails I just received today.
Fun. Okay, everyone. Thank you a million times. Have a great weekend.